All right, well, welcome to Guerrilla Discipleship. My name's Kevin Baker. I've got a special guest today. It's going to be great for you to get to know her. As always, I'm glad that you're with us. We are trying to do everything we can to help people understand what it means to be an everyday disciple maker, just that God's called us to have a lifestyle like Jesus where we see people, care about people, and introduce them to the God who loves them. So this is Oakdale Church's newest staff member. She is the Student Ministries Pastor here. Her name is LaThania Barrett. What do you think, I don't know, maybe the top three things that you see middle schoolers and high schoolers, what are the top three things that concern you that they're facing that, man, if I could speak into them, here's the things that I see that are seducing them or hurting them in some way. Do you have a thought on that?
Yeah. I'm going to throw them out first so that I don't forget them as I break them down.
Okay.
The first one, and this is age-old, it hasn't changed probably since the dawn of man, is identity.
Yeah.
And I think now there's so much more conversation around sexual identity and the fluidity of all of that, that it's so confusing and polarizing. I would say this whole, celebrities have always been celebrities, for sure. But with social media being what it is and with influencers being what it is, it's like anybody can be. I feel like when I was in high school, it was a lot more like celebrities are movie stars and TV actresses and people that do entertainment, but it's not that way anymore. It's like anyone.
These influencers now can be
anyone. And so that, you talk about identity with that whole celebrity influencer culture and trying to find value based on your online presence and all of those things is so detrimental to the teenage psyche.
Yeah.
I mean, it's damaging to the adult psyche. Right. And then imagine being 13. So I think there's that. And then if there's anything else I would say, it's probably, specifically if we're talking about Christians, I feel like for teenagers especially, it's so, and I'm guilty of this, we love encounter and we have a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, there's tons of zeal. But in that, I think we can get addicted to that and then we don't know how to have legitimate, steady, long-term relationship with God.
Yeah.
And so we're jumping from high to high, which that's not really necessarily new either, but we jump from high to high. And then even in that, we're not satisfied because we don't know how to have a relationship as opposed to just encounter. We don't know what to do with the encounters. And so it can create this cycle. And that was kind of me too, going to youth group. Every youth group, I was either on my face crying or having the time of my life or whatever, but I didn't necessarily know how to live those things. And so the way that I interacted with God and even my expectation of fulfillment and being sustained in God I didn't understand. Yeah. So those are the three, and I could break those down more, but that's probably the biggest.
So identity was one. Mm-hmm. What was the second one?
The influencer fame.
Okay, so
all of that.
Celebrity culture kind of thing, and the third one is
the encounter chasing culture.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, I'm from the charismatic world, so that's very common there. But I think as teenagers, period, because you're so highly emotionally charged,
right.
And God really does meet you in those spaces, and you want to be met in those spaces. A lot of times, that's kind of what it becomes. It's like events. We're kind of driven by events, I would say. It's either encounter if you're super charismatic, or events on the other hand, because that's where you get what you need is from an event.
The second one there and the third one seem to play together to me in the sense that what all of the research seems to be saying is, the social media it's dopamine hits.
Yes.
It's it just keeps driving me. And so I'm having this almost addiction to fascination with something. And the influencers have figured out how to get you fascinated with them. And
profit off of it.
And profit off of that.
Yeah.
And so all of that seems to go together. Let me ask another question. Everybody talks about, and it certainly feels true. In fact, I've got lots of pastor friends who would say that in the last 5 to 10 years, it has become so hard to pastor churches because of the divisiveness in our culture politically.
Yeah, everything is polarizing.
Yeah, that you can't you either you're not talking about it, and now they're upset that you're not talking about it. But of course, they want you to talk about it from their side, whatever their perspective is. And it's very hard to say what would even have been not long ago. For instance, a friend of mine was just saying. Not long ago, he said, "Hey, let's just take a moment and pray for our president. God asks us to pray for our leaders," and folks were upset at that because they are opposed to the president, and they felt like that was somehow in favor. I don't know what his prayer was, but that somehow even saying we're going to pray for the president
is like a political statement.
Is I'm for this guy. Let's pray for him.
Yeah.
Does that affect? Is that really having an effect on middle, high, and high school kids?
For sure, yes, because they want to be accepted and they want to be embraced, and a lot of culture. I mean, as a young person, what I love about Gen Z, and Gen Z is kind of phasing out, so we're more talking about Gen Alpha, but I feel like what I saw in Gen Z was this sense of empowerment. Like, young people want to be empowered, they want to have a voice, they want to feel like they can contribute.
Right.
And so that exists, but it seems as though the way that they've been empowered is more in the ways of the world.
Yeah.
And so as a teenager, then you're trying to fit in and be accepted, and therefore you have to adopt the cultures and the ethos of the world.
Right.
And so there's this wrestle then as a Christian teenager of like, I know what the Bible says and it is very contrary to the world. But if I stand on that, number one, I'm going to be ostracized. Number two, I'll be labeled as something. And then I'll be, I won't be accepted. It's going to be, so there's that tension because it matters even more now. When I was younger, I remember when, I don't know if it was local. Feel like it was a national thing, but Prop 8 was like, they introduced gay marriage.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember talking to someone about it. 6th grade, I'm like 11, 12. I remember walking to class and this girl was like, do you support Prop 8? And I was like, no, I believe marriage is between a man and woman. She was like, what? And then I was like, yeah. And then we just kept on walking and cared about our day. That was it. It was, okay. And we remained friends and whatever.
Did you get worried about that? That like, oh, she's going to think poorly of me? No, you weren't. No,
okay. First of all, because Jesus freaked till I died.
There you go.
So I'm like, I'm a stand on this for Jesus.
Right.
But then at the same time, that was not the way that we operated as 11, 12-year-olds,
Yeah.
But now
like that we
matters.
would distance ourselves because you thought differently. Yeah.
But now especially so because our kids are being discipled by us, by culture. So if adults are crazy about politics and polarizing and everything, how much more will our kids be? Because they're just copying us. So it's hard.
It is hard, and I think on that polarization, I've been, and this is nothing new, but just been hitting me lately that instead of saying, we can't say anymore, I disagree with that side, I disagree with that perspective. We actually have to say, no, that perspective is killing. It's killing the country or killing something.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, it's so
everything's extreme.
So extreme anymore, and so it doesn't allow us to be apolitical. If you're apolitical, then you don't care about people because how could you not care about people? Because look at these horrible things that are happening. And it's both sides. These extreme messages. Let me ask you another question about kids and youth and students. One of the things that I see with young adults and older adults is, and maybe it's more of a problem for us, we don't know where to get our information anymore.
Yeah.
Because, everybody's labeled, this news is biased this way, this news is biased this way. I was talking to somebody that said, my kids get their news from Stephen Colbert. That's where they get their news. So do you see, are kids figuring this out? Are they going, hey, I don't care enough? Or are they saying, here's where I go to get reliable information? Have you seen any change in that going on?
I don't know how much they're concerned with it being reliable.
Okay.
I think it's reliable if it sounds good and if they agree.
Okay.
And
so they're not necessarily even, they're sort of, are they following what their parents then do? Like, my parents listen to this, I listen to that? Or is it just, this is what my friends are listening to, and so I'm assuming it's reliable?
It depends on the student's relationship with their parents.
I got
for
you.
sure, and what their parents believe. Because I think the parents are no longer the biggest influence on their kids, for the most part.
Who is now, do you think?
culture, social media,
Social
their
media.
friends, and then in that it's social media. So you're talking about reliable news sources. Well, the news source for your average teenager is some person on TikTok.
Yeah.
And it's someone who's eloquent, who they probably will pull up some stats, probably from somewhere very biased, but they probably will pull up a stat or two, and they speak very confidently. Those are their news sources as well as their friends. So I don't know, like I feel like it's kind of a balance. I'm technically Gen Z, but I'm older Gen Z. I'm like at the top of Gen Z. So younger, like high school age, I think that they can kind of smell the fake stuff from a mile away, but at the same time, they're teenagers.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what sounds good, what feels good, and what do my friends believe? There's a lot of groupthink that happens in every sphere, no matter where you're at, what age, what group, what party, it's a lot of groupthink happening. And so it's like, if my friends believe this and it sounds good and it makes me feel, because you've got to think teenagers are very motivated by their emotions. So if it makes me feel something and I like what I feel, then that's what I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard topic. It's where it feels to me like what I see going on in our culture that worries me is if you were to take what's happening in our culture and put it in a marriage, I would say that marriage is headed for divorce. Mm-hmm. There's no chance that marriage is going to survive if they just keep blaming the other side. If I can't sit and go, look, here's how I'm contributing to this, and I need to figure out what to do with this so that I can, if I just keep sitting over here going, I'm so right, and you are all of the problem. Yeah. Michelle and I've tried that. It didn't work well for me. I don't know. You'd have to ask her. But it's hard to be married, and we're just. It seems like it's getting harder and harder for us to celebrate us.
Yes.
The us of hey. Even in the Olympics, apparently there's some. I haven't watched any of the Olympics, but there's some controversy there as well. About how hard it is to play for America from some side, and then other sides getting upset about that. So I guess it just worries me sometimes the effect of growing up in such a divisive culture. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, this is what I see, and I wonder if kids see this too. That's what I get when I watch media. What I get living my life is we're not that divided.
Yes.
We're not that divided. Yeah. There's a point in which sometimes I think young people look and say, these old people, what is wrong with them? Because I mean, we're relational people. We love. I mean, I just find not that everybody's a nice person kind of thing, but people are far more on the average day. I just don't encounter what the news tries to portray. I encounter people like me who are trying to make a living and get through life and raise their kids and be healthy and all the rest of that. And they don't seem to be my enemy. We may have disagreements if we were to sit down and talk about it. But so I just didn't know how you see that affecting young people and what parents. Is there anything that you would say to parents? I mean, how would you advise parents about? Let me ask it this way. I'm going to ask it more specifically. Let's say that a parent is in that I am very much, I'm on this side. Whatever side it is, I'm on this side. And that side is horrible, and they're going to ruin everything. And, I'm even trying to say that. I'm trying to say it in such a way that it won't be portrayed which side.
Yes.
I don't have a side. I'm just trying to tell you.
Yeah.
But what would you say to them about how that might be impacting their kids?
Oh my goodness. I mean, you're not teaching them how to think. You're giving them a very one-dimensional diet. And so I feel like, I think the biggest thing as parents, and one of the things I'm very grateful for with my dad especially, is that he really taught us how to think. That's and how awesome. To think for ourselves. Yeah. And so I just, if you are like die hard, there's this one thing, this one way, whichever way, you're you are giving your kids the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
You're kind of handicapping them in a way. Because that's not how the world works.
Right.
It's not how the world works in any way. Even we could bring this back into the church. You know how many people are that way denominationally?
Oh, yeah.
But the reality is God doesn't fit in any of the boxes that any of us have ever tried to make for him.
Right.
Ever. And so you
so
thinking
good.
that because you're Protestant or because you're Catholic or because you're Orthodox, you know everything that there is to know about God, and this is the only way to worship and the only way to fellowship and the only way to like that, you're just
Yeah.
the only word I think of is like you're literally handicapping yourself.
That's good.
Because nothing works that way. And there's so much, especially if we're talking about people, get offline. Like people in real life are so nuanced and so unique, and there's so much beauty and diversity. And so I'm like, if you are stuck in one way of thinking, you are handicapping yourself, you're handicapping your kids, and you're actually setting them up to have a really hard time. Because the minute they encounter someone who doesn't think exactly the same way as them, things are going to go very poorly.
Yeah.
Very, very poorly.
Yeah.
It can go poorly in so many ways, but it will be very bad. Like, it'll just be ugly.
Yeah.
So
That's so good. Very, very wise. We are having a great time talking, and there's too much here for one time. So come back next week,
Yes.
and LaTania's still going to be here, and we're
Yes.
going to still keep talking. So come back. Thanks so much for being a part of Guerrilla Discipleship. If there's anything you want to have us talk about, always email me, kbaker@oakdale.church. You can make comments here. You could even reach out to LaTania if
sure
you wanted. What's your email,
could.
LaTania?
Barrett@oakdale.church.
2 R's and 2 T's?
Double R, double T.
Double R, double T.